Stop waiting for fairness. If they play dirty, stop waiting for their conscience to save you. If they lie about you, twist your words, smile in your face, copy your ideas, poison your name, or quietly turn people against you, you are not facing a misunderstanding. You are facing a game. And the first person who loses in a game is usually the one who still believes everyone is playing by the same rules. This is the painful lesson Machiavelli keeps forcing people to face. The world is not always ruled by the kindest person in the room. It is often ruled by the person who sees the room clearly, the one who notices the hidden motive before it becomes an attack, the one who understands that some smiles are masks, some concerns are traps, and some questions are only weapons disguised as curiosity. Most good people lose ground because they confuse fairness with protection. They think if they remain honest, the truth will rise by itself. They think if they explain calmly enough, everyone will understand. They think if their heart is clean, the situation will eventually become clean too. But dirty people do not always attack the truth. They attack perception. Perception moves faster than proof. Suspicion spreads before facts arrive. A person does not need to convince everyone that you are guilty. They only need to make your name feel uncertain. They only need someone to pause when you are mentioned. That pause becomes the beginning of damage. Someone may not openly call you incompetent. They may simply say, "Maybe we should double-check his work." Someone may not directly accuse you of changing. They may say, "I do not know. Something about him feels different lately." Someone may not attack your success. They may whisper, "Some people get lucky at the right time." None of these sentences looks violent, but each one leaves a small stain on your image. Then, when you react too quickly, you complete the trap. You rush to explain. You speak faster than you can think. You give too much detail. You become emotional because you know you are innocent. But the dirty player was not trying to prove your guilt. They were trying to make you look unstable. Once you overreact, they no longer need evidence. They only need to point at your reaction. This is why the first ruthless rule is simple. Never fight dirty people with naive honesty. Honesty matters, but honesty without awareness walks into traps. Before you defend yourself, study the attack. Who benefits from the confusion? Who repeats the story? Who pretends to be neutral while guiding others toward doubt? Who suddenly becomes concerned only when your position starts improving? Dirty games usually have a design, and the design becomes visible only when you stop panicking. Awareness is not paranoia. Paranoia sees enemies everywhere. Awareness sees patterns where they actually exist. Paranoia reacts before the evidence is clear. Awareness waits long enough to understand the shape of the move. That difference can save your reputation, your peace, and your position. The second rule begins here. Do not bleed where they can see it. Your reactions are information. To a manipulative person, your anger is not just anger. Your fear is not just fear. Your pain is not just pain. It is a map. It tells them where pressure works. If they know you fear being misunderstood, they will twist your words. If they know silence makes you chase, they will withdraw and wait. If they know you need approval, they will give it and remove it like a leash. If they know you hate looking weak, they will provoke your pride at the worst time. That is not random cruelty. That is emotional strategy. So become harder to read. Not fake, not empty, controlled. There is a difference between feeling deeply and giving every feeling to people who came looking for wounds. A calm face can protect you. Short words can protect you. A pause can protect you. The person who can read your pain can repeat your pain. If someone insults you subtly in front of others, do not perform the wound. Do not rush into a speech. Look at them and ask, "What did you mean by that?" Now the hidden attack must either reveal itself or retreat. The room begins to feel the pressure they tried to hide inside humor. That is Machiavellian power, not loud revenge, controlled perception. The hardest part is that this will feel unnatural at first. You may want to prove your innocence immediately. You may want to make everyone see your heart. But not everyone deserves that access. Some people are not confused. They are collecting your reaction. The moment you stop feeding them, their strategy begins to starve. And once you stop reacting like an easy target, the game changes. They may still play dirty, but they can no longer use your blindness as their greatest advantage. The board becomes visible. And when the board becomes visible, fear becomes information instead of control, and confusion finally loses its power. Punish patterns, not mistakes. A mistake deserves patience. A pattern deserves a boundary. This is the line most decent people fail to draw. They are so afraid of becoming unfair that they become unfair to themselves. They keep giving fresh mercy to repeated behavior. They keep saying, maybe they did not mean it, even after the same behavior has appeared too many times to remain innocent. One interruption may be careless. 5 interruptions are a message. One cruel joke may be poor judgment. Repeated jokes at your expense are positioning. One broken promise may be weakness. A pattern of broken promises is information. One act of disrespect can be discussed. Repeated disrespect is no longer asking for understanding. It is asking how much you will tolerate. This is the third ruthless Machiavellian rule. Punish patterns, not mistakes. The word punish does not mean revenge. It means consequence. It means your access changes, your tone changes, your distance changes, your trust changes, your willingness to explain changes. The behavior meets a cost, because without cost, disrespect becomes permission. Human beings test boundaries more than they admit, sometimes consciously, sometimes instinctively. They push slightly, then watch. They make one comment and measure your face. They cross one line and observe the silence. If you laugh, they learn. If you forgive instantly, they learn. If you keep choosing peace while they keep choosing disrespect, they learn something dangerous. They learn that your kindness has no edge. This is why some people do not become more respectful, because you were endlessly kind. They become more comfortable. That sentence will offend people who believe kindness should always transform others. But kindness transforms people with conscience. It enables people with appetite. If someone is already using your softness as space to expand their control, more softness will not wake them up. It will only make the room bigger. Machiavelli understood consequence because he understood behavior. Unchecked behavior grows. A ruler who cannot create consequence invites challenge. A person who cannot hold a boundary invites testing. A reputation without edges attracts people who want easy victories. Think about someone who keeps embarrassing you in front of others. At first, you laugh it off. You do not want tension. Then it happens again. You still let it pass. Then the joke becomes sharper. Now it touches your intelligence, your work, your past, your weakness. The room laughs because you taught the room it was allowed. From your point of view, you were keeping peace. From their point of view, they were training you. That is the hidden cost of soft reactions to deliberate harm. You think you are avoiding conflict, but you are often postponing a larger conflict under worse conditions. The longer the pattern continues, the more shocked the other person becomes when you finally resist. They say, "Why are you acting different?" But you are not acting different. You are acting late. That is why the boundary must arrive before resentment poisons you. It must arrive while your voice is still calm. It must arrive before you have collected so much silent anger that your first honest sentence sounds like an explosion. A strong boundary does not need drama. It can be simple. I notice this has happened more than once. It stops now. Do not mistake my patience for permission. If there is a problem, say it directly. Do not hide it behind jokes. These sentences work because they name the pattern. They remove the costume. They force the behavior into the room. Dirty players prefer ambiguity. They prefer being able to say, "I did not mean it that way." They prefer attacking from the shadows while demanding that you stay polite in the light. Clarity can feel ruthless to people who benefited from your confusion. But this rule needs discipline. Some people discover boundaries and turn them into ego. They begin punishing every small mistake. They become sharp, suspicious, impossible to approach. That is not power. That is wounded pride wearing armor. The rule is not punish everything. The rule is punish patterns. A person who makes a mistake and takes responsibility deserves conversation. A person who harms you, denies it, repeats it, and calls you sensitive deserves consequence. Once you understand this, your reputation changes. People realize you are not cruel, but you are not careless with yourself. You are not explosive, but you are not available for disrespect. You are not looking for war, but you are no longer an easy place to put someone else's hidden aggression. And once that reputation forms, many battles never happen. Dirty players usually prefer easy targets. They do not want real resistance. They want access without cost. They want your guilt, your politeness, your silence, and your fear of being misunderstood. Remove those, and suddenly they become less brave. But consequence alone is not enough, because some attacks do not come from simple disrespect. They come from envy, and envy does not always attack what you are. It attacks what you are becoming. That is why the next rule is about secrecy, timing, and the danger of being too visible too early. Protect your next move. Visibility creates targets. This is the part ambitious people often learn too late. They think every plan needs an audience. They think every improvement needs an announcement. They think everyone who smiles at their progress is happy for them. But human nature is more complicated than that. Some people do not attack you when you fail. They attack you when they realize you might rise. That is the fourth ruthless rule. Protect your next move like a secret weapon. Not because everyone is an enemy, not because you should live in fear, but because not everyone deserves early access to the version of you that is still forming. A plan is most vulnerable before it becomes visible power. A new life is easiest to sabotage before it has roots. A new skill, a new opportunity, a new boundary, a new exit, a new ambition. These are fragile before they become undeniable. Dirty people know this. They often attack before the world can see what you are building. They question your confidence before it hardens. They mock your discipline before it becomes results. They plant doubt before your belief becomes strong enough to resist them. They do not need to stop you forever. Sometimes, they only need to interrupt your momentum at the right time. Momentum is easier to kill early. This is why disclosure must become strategic. There is a difference between hiding from shame and protecting from interference. Shame says, I cannot let anyone know because I am afraid. Strategy says, not everyone needs access before the result is strong enough to stand. Machiavelli's fox and lion live here. The lion has strength. The fox sees traps. Strength without the fox becomes loud and easy to bait. Cunning without the lion becomes fear pretending to be wisdom. But when both exist together, you move with force and timing. You know when to show power and when to keep it unseen. Many people think power is always visible. The loudest person, the most confident speaker, the one announcing the biggest move. But often the most dangerous person in the room is the one building quietly while others are busy explaining themselves. Silence can be preparation, and preparation becomes power when revealed at the right moment. Think about what happens when you tell the wrong person too early. You say you are starting something new. They smile and ask questions. Then come the small cuts. Are you sure? That sounds risky. People like you usually struggle with that. I am just being realistic. None of it looks like sabotage. It looks like concern. But after the conversation, you feel smaller. That is how some people attack your future without touching your present. Not every concern is love. Sometimes concern is fear, wearing a respectable face. Sometimes it is envy trying to sound responsible. Sometimes it is a person who needs your dream to fail, so their own surrender feels justified. Do not give your enemy the map before you build the kingdom. Do not explain every plan to people who benefit from your hesitation. Do not reveal every weakness to people who collect leverage. Do not announce every exit to those who might block the door. Do not describe your strategy to people who only ask questions when they feel you becoming less controllable. This does not mean isolation. It means discernment. There are people who deserve to know. People with proven loyalty. People who can challenge you without shrinking you. People who ask hard questions without planting weakness. People who are not secretly invested in your staying the same. But those people are fewer than you think. The painful truth is that many people love the version of you they can understand, predict, and place beneath them. When you begin changing, you disturb the position they assign to you. Your growth creates psychological tension. Your ambition creates uncertainty. Your absence from old patterns creates curiosity. And some people respond to that uncertainty by trying to pull you back into a version of yourself they can manage. This is where the game becomes deeper. When people play dirty, they are not only testing your kindness, they are testing whether you are still careless with your access. They want to know if they can still reach your plans, your wounds, your confidence, your next move. If they can reach it, they can touch it. If they can touch it, they may try to damage it. So reveal less than you know. Let them underestimate the discipline. Let them misunderstand the silence. Let them think nothing is happening while everything is forming. Let the result appear after the sabotage window has closed. There is quiet power in not being fully available to other people's predictions. The less they can predict, the less they can prepare. The less they can prepare, the less they can control. And when they finally see what you were building, the advantage is already gone. But once you protect your next move, another question appears. Are you building power because you respect yourself, or because you still need the people who doubted you to approve? That question leads to the fifth rule. Make respect more important than being liked. Because if they only like you when you are easy to control, they do not like you. They like your obedience. Become impossible to play. Respect must become more important than approval. This is the fifth rule, and it reaches deeper than tactics. Many people are not defeated by enemies. They are defeated by their need to be liked by people who do not respect them. They call it kindness. They call it maturity. They call it being the bigger person. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it is fear. Fear of being judged, fear of being abandoned, fear of being called selfish, fear of becoming the villain in someone else's story. That fear makes you easy to move. A dirty player understands this instinctively. If you need approval, they can control you by threatening to remove it. If you need to be seen as good, they can control you by calling you cruel. If you need to be understood, they can control you by misunderstanding you on purpose. If you need to win every argument, they can invite you into every trap. This is why Machiavelli's idea about fear and love still unsettles people. They want affection to be enough. They want kindness to create loyalty. But people can enjoy your kindness and still exploit it. They can praise your patience and still test it. They can call you a good person while quietly depending on your inability to say no. Being liked can become a cage when you are terrified of losing it. Respect is different. Respect begins when people understand there are limits. It grows when they realize your kindness has structure. It stays when they learn you can be fair without being weak. The goal is not to make people fear your cruelty. That is cheap power. The goal is to make people respect your self-control. Here is the hard truth. Some relationships only survive because one person keeps swallowing themselves. When that person develops a boundary, the relationship is called broken. But often, only the illusion broke. Once you stop needing everyone to like you, dirty players lose one of their strongest weapons. They can no longer control you with guilt as easily. They can no longer threaten you with disapproval as effectively. They can no longer keep you in the role of the good person who absorbs everything. You become harder to script, and a person who cannot be scripted becomes dangerous to those who rely on roles. But even then, you must not fight every battle. This is the sixth rule. Let their own tactics expose them. Do not interrupt an enemy while they are revealing themselves. When someone plays dirty, your ego wants to respond. You want to correct the lie. You want to expose the hypocrisy. You want to defend your name. You want everyone to see what you see, but sometimes your reaction is the only cover they need. A manipulative person often provokes you so they can hide behind your response. They say something cruel in a calm voice. You answer with anger. Now the room remembers your anger. They distort your words. You rush to explain. Now you look desperate. They bait you with disrespect. You strike back too hard. Now they become the victim. The dirty player does not always need to win the truth. They only need to win the scene. So use restraint, not weak silence. Strategic restraint. Answer less. Observe more. Stop giving them dramatic material. Let their need to provoke become visible. Let their repetition become evidence. If you remain steady long enough, the room begins to notice that the problem is not your sensitivity, it is their obsession. But restraint has one danger. You can look calm and still be owned inside. You can avoid every battle and still replay their words at night. You can say nothing out loud and still give them a throne inside your mind. That is you're paid. The seventh rule is the deepest. Become the one thing they cannot move. Every dirty tactic needs a handle. A rumor needs your panic. An insult needs your reaction. Silent treatment needs your chase. Guilt needs your obedience. Disrespect needs your fear of conflict. Manipulation needs some emotional need inside you that has not yet been mastered. If they know you need to be liked, they threaten disapproval. If they know you need to look strong, they provoke pride. If they know you need closure, they keep the ending unclear. If they know you cannot tolerate being misunderstood, they twist the story and watch you exhaust yourself trying to correct it. Emotional independence is the final protection. It does not mean you feel nothing. It means your feelings no longer make you easy to steer. You can feel hurt without performing the wound. You can feel anger without handing them evidence. You can feel misunderstood without begging blind people to see. You can feel the desire to respond and still choose the response that protects your future. This is the payoff of the whole game. If they play dirty, you do not need to become dirtier. You need to become harder to play. The 7 rules are not about becoming cruel. They are about becoming aware enough that cruelty loses its advantage. Protect your perception. Guard your emotional map. Create consequence. Hide your next move. Choose respect over approval. Let tactics expose themselves. Master the center they once used against you. When those pieces come together, your presence changes. You are not louder. You are harder to provoke. You are not crueler. You are less blind. And that is when they realize they chose the wrong opponent. Not because you destroyed them, but because the person they tried to play finally saw the board. You may still be kind, but now your kindness has eyes. You may still be patient, but now your patience has limits. You may still be quiet, but now your silence has weight. So if they play dirty, remember this. You do not need to play dirtier. You need to become impossible to play.